All right, good afternoon, dinner on a dime. I am Misty. Welcome to another video. We are back filming outside, which makes my heart super happy. It is February, it is Texas, it is beautiful outside. In fact, we've had two surprise cruise-ins for classic cars in the last week, and it's been so lovely, and everyone getting out and seeing each other and bringing out the cars and stuff is a lot of fun. And so we're enjoying the nice weather here in Texas, let's put it that way. So today's video is going to be the first in a 5-part series. So I've been working on a list of really the top 50 tips that I could give you to save money on groceries. And this doesn't matter if it was 2020, 2022, 2026, 2028, right? These are the tips and tricks that if you will utilize them, you will find that you will save money on groceries. And so some of these you've probably heard in other videos that I've done in the past. Maybe I'm rephrasing them, maybe I'm rethinking them. We're going to talk about each one as we go, kind of how I utilize that in my kitchen. And so to cut down the length of this video into more bite-sized pieces, we are going to do 5 videos with 10 tips each, and they will be back to back to back. They'll be scheduled back to back to back on the channel, so you won't have to worry about missing anything, okay? So the first one that I have for you, and it's said time and time again, but for some reason it is the hardest one for people to get on board with, is you have to plan your weekly meals to avoid impulse purchases. So this isn't just to cut down on what you're buying at the grocery store, which it is for that too, right? We want to cut down on the purchases at the grocery store, but impulse buys as far as breakfast on the way to work, as far as lunch out because you didn't pack your lunch, dinners where it's just that crazy night and you had nothing planned and you had no backup, and so you just decided to pick up pizza for the family. I cannot stress enough that it will kill your budget if you don't have any sort of weekly plan. Okay, don't try to go monthly, quarterly, yearly, whatever, until you get really accustomed to doing this. Now, I have said before on the channel, I do like to sit down and make out a yearly meal plan, but I've also stressed to you guys that that plan changes frequently, right? So it's not like I stick to it to the T, but it does give me a guide to work with, where I'm not having to think about it every day. But what I will say is this: my family fails on the breakfast and the lunch side of things because we don't normally eat breakfast. And so then the weekends come around and it's like, if we wake up early, we're like, oh, let's go out to breakfast. And the next thing you know, that's a $50 breakfast. Today, I was actually out doing some donations at our local donation center, and my husband called and said, hey, what's the plan for lunch? It's 12 o'clock. Everybody's starting to get hungry. I thought, well, I'll just pick up Taco Bell on the way home. It'll be cheap. Well, they didn't want that, and so we ended up going through Wendy's drive-thru. It was $50 for 4 people to go through the drive-thru, and one of those is a kid, right? Still eating on the kids' meal. And so that's a hard pill to swallow when I had to drop $50 that I wasn't expecting to on lunch just because I was out of the house and there was nothing ready, and so the family didn't know what to do, right? So having some sort of plan in place. Number 2 is checking your pantry and fridge before you go shopping. Okay, we've talked a little bit about this in the past. You've got to know what you've got on hand before you know what you need to be buying at the store. And so I do love using an inventory tracking app on my phone. I pay for it. It's like $29.99 a year. But here's why I'm willing to spend that money. I have a working pantry. I am an ingredient-based household. So I am not going to my cabinet and it's just snack food. I'm going to the cabinet and it's a ton of ingredients that can be used for all different sorts of meals, but it's easy to lose track of what all's in there because it's big and it's full of ingredients. And so it's nice to have it inside of an app captured in one nice little spot where I can go and see exactly what I have at any time, day or night, right? Now, If you don't have an app and you don't want to pay $29.99 a year for an app, that's fine. Don't do that. But keep some sort of inventory tracking system, especially for things that are going in the freezer. That's a hard one because it's easy to lose visibility of what's in there, especially if it's like a chest freezer, so stuff's getting buried, or even in a stand-up freezer where stuff's getting pushed to the back. It can be really easy to lose focus on what you have. So then you're not utilizing ingredients that you already have in your house. You might be forgetting about them. You might be letting them go bad. You might be overbuying, buying duplicate items, right? All of that ties together. Now, how do I feel about that one? Obviously, I'm on board with this one because I use the inventory tracking system on my phone. And so you're not going to see me say don't do that, because I do think it's a wise thing to do. All right, number 3, use simple, repeatable meal patterns. Okay, lots of people are big on this one. So Taco Tuesday, Pizza Friday, chicken on Wednesday, leftovers on Sunday. You've kind of got it based out where you eat literally from the same categories week after week, or on maybe a 2-week rotation or something like that. Okay, I'm not going to bash this. I think it's great for people who can eat that way and like the same meals over and over again, or the same types of foods over and over again. I personally, now my family could probably do this one. They would probably eat tacos every Tuesday. They'd probably eat hamburgers every Wednesday if I made them, pizza every Friday. They'd be happy with that. But I like a little more variety in my plan. And so I have to work in some new recipes here and there of things that I want to try. I have to remember to pull in my favorites as the cook, not just their favorites as the family. And so I do think this one would be a little bit harder for me to do. But if you're brand new to trying to save money, this is a really good one to work with, especially at first, because you can buy like a big bulk package of hamburger meat or chicken when it's on sale, and then you can portion it out by your weeks, and you can be like, okay, here's week 1's chicken for Monday, week 2, week 3, week 4. Okay, here's the ground beef for week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And that can be really helpful and guiding your direction and your thought process and your plan, right? So all of that kind of ties hand in hand together. All right, number 4, you only buy ingredients for meals that you're actually going to cook. I have been guilty of this in the past, where if a recipe called for a specialty ingredient, I would go to the store, I would buy the specialty ingredient, no matter what the cost was, and use it for that one recipe. And then if we didn't like it, guess what? The rest of that ingredient for that recipe would just sit on my shelf forever until finally I gave up and I threw it away. I no longer do that, okay? If it's an ingredient that is for a meal that I'm not sure that will go on repeat in my house, I am not going to buy a special ingredient for it. I am going to substitute something else in its place in order to make it work within the guidelines of what I already have in my house, okay? And I would say that's probably one that gets a lot of people in trouble, because they start meal planning and they start getting on Pinterest, or they start getting on cooking boards and looking at cooking magazines, and things look good and they don't know how to deviate from the recipe, and so they just make mistakes, and it overspend, right? It costs them more to go buy those ingredients. So I would say don't do that. I would say learn how to go online or a resource book or something that you can quickly learn what substitutes you can make inside of the kitchen. All right, number 5, limit shopping trips to 1 major trip per week. Okay, I am not a fan of this one, and I've talked about this a little bit on the channel in the past, because I do what I call clearance walk shopping. That's probably, honestly, 75 to 90% of the way I buy meat is by doing clearance walks. When I'm in the store for anything, I will do a parameter walk, and I'll check the meat section, I'll check the deli, I'll check the bread rack, whatever, and look for items that are on markdown that I can freeze and use later. And so if I was only going into the store once a week, I wouldn't have the opportunity to particularly shop the way that I enjoy shopping. Okay, hold on, I'm gonna get a sip of my drink here. So that one would be a little difficult for me. Now, my mom is really good about that. She'll go to the store 1 time a week. She gets everything she needs. She doesn't go back to the store for the week. Now, with that being said, I will tell you this. 2026 is the year I decided I am cutting back on buying anything grocery related, because we have an inside freezer that's full. We have an outside like garage fridge, its freezer is full. I have an industrial like commercial grade double door freezer in my garage. It is full. I have my ingredient pantry is full. My small kitchen pantry is full. And I'm not bragging there. I'm just saying that by clearance stocking my shelves and clearance stocking my freezers over time, we've built up enough that it needs to start getting used. We need to stop buying, we need to start using. And so 2026 for me is more like the year of using things, not the year of buying things. And I'm totally okay with that. So to give you an idea, for the month of January, I only spent $71. I think it was $71.86 in groceries in the month of January. I really wouldn't have even spent that much, except we had the ice come in where we were in our house for like almost a solid week. And so I did want to make sure we had bread, milk, orange juice, like things to get us through that time. But what I'm saying here is, you have to pick your poison on the way you shop. And I hate to discourage people from shopping multiple times a week if they're able to manage it and stay within their budget and they do things like clearance shopping. If not, then I would recommend that you only go in one time a week, especially if you know that you don't have the staying power not to overspend in the grocery store. Sorry, I'm going to take one more sip of this. I want to cough all of a sudden. All right. So the next one, number 6, prep meals or ingredients to avoid takeout. I am a huge fan of this one because I'll buy something like celery and I won't use it all, and then it just goes in the trash. Or we buy a multi-pack of peppers and we don't use them all and the other one goes in the trash. Or we buy a thing of bananas and they sit on the counter and they go bad, they go in the trash. Whatever the case may be, right? I can give you like a million trillion examples just in my own home. But it's better if I prep meals or ingredients and I stick them in the freezer instead of throwing it in the trash. So if I have extra herbs, I'll put them in water or oil and I'll freeze them, because then the water or oil cooks off in recipes and then you've got the fresh herbs. If it is like a vegetable, like the celery, I'll chop it up, get it ready, goes in the freezer. Peppers, chop them up, put them in the freezer. When it comes to things like bananas, I will actually peel them, mash them up, put them in bags of 2, and then I pull them out when I want to make banana bread. So I'm constantly looking for ways to prep an ingredient so that I can pull it out and use it later. Roast a whole chicken, pull all the meat off of the bones, get it put in baggies, then you've got pulled chicken whenever you need it. Then you can use those bones, make stock, freeze it, then you've got chicken stock for whenever you need it. So when you have the time or you have a little bit of stuff left over, prep it, get it in the freezer, and then you've got that to work with in the future. Now, prep meals is a good one too. It literally takes no more time to layer up 2 pans of enchiladas versus 1, 2 lasagnas versus 1, 2 pans of pasta versus 1. Then you wrap them really well, you get them in the freezer, and then guess what? On that night where mom comes home from work and I'm just beat down and I don't want to cook and it's going to be an hour till pizza can be delivered, plus I don't want to spend $75 for takeout pizza, I can grab that lasagna, I can throw it in the oven, and in about the same amount of time, we're going to have homemade lasagna that's going to be delicious. Everyone's going to like it. And I saved myself $75. So I do like to prep meals ahead and get them stuck in the freezer. I typically like to keep about 6 meals prepped in the freezer ready to go. I don't have that right now because I have filled up my freezers with clearance meat over the last, year to year and a half. And so I will be happy when I get some space cleared out so that I can get back to doing that, because I do miss that. Once you get used to doing that, now I've got lots of prepped ingredients, don't get me wrong, and that makes cooking a lot simpler. But once you get used to having a few of those quick prep meals on hand, it's really painful when you don't have them. That's for sure. Okay, number 7 is review receipts regularly to identify your spending patterns. Another thing that people do not like to do. I don't like to do it because it's like a really rude awakening when you start to look at your receipts and you're like, man, that is how much I spent, especially if you get to a level where you're analyzing and you realize that like 80% of your budget went to stuff that you didn't need, or 50% of your budget went to junk food, or you maybe think you're feeding your family really well and then you realize that 60% of your budget's being spent on overprocessed foods or whatever it is that you're looking for. Okay, in my house, I don't really worry about the highly processed stuff. We don't eat a whole lot of it. I don't worry about it. But I do worry about sticking in the budget, and I do worry about making sure that I'm not packing too much junk for my kids in their lunch boxes, because that's easy for me to do. And so I do walk a fine line of like making sure that I'm buying the right things and my money is going in the right places. So number 8, reduce your food waste by organizing meals around expiration dates. So how do I feel about this one? I don't really have a preference on it, except to say that if you guys have seen my videos, I put out a 4-part series of things you can use well past their expiration dates. I've talked about it multiple times on the channel. I do not tie my hands to an expiration date on a product, and so there you go. Like I would not organize my meals or anything around expiration dates, because if I'm not going to hit a date and I'm worried about it, I'm going to stick it in the freezer and prolong the life of it anyways. But if maybe you don't have the space to do that, or you do worry about expiration dates, then yeah, plan your meals around making sure you're utilizing what you need to use first. And what I have recommended in the past, and I will recommend again, because it is something that I do often do, is have a use first bin or a use first shelf. Mine isn't for expiration dates. Mine is just for open packages. Like, hey, these are open packages of things that we have. We should use these up first and get them out of the pantry before we open another package, right? But you could also do that for, hey, these are items that are approaching their expiration date. Let's get them used and let's get them out of the pantry. All right, number 9 is prioritize home cooking over dining out. You do have to learn to make this the priority, okay? And trust me, once you do, then when you start eating out, you don't want to eat out anymore. You're like, man, I really want to get back to eating at home. And so that is something that takes some work. My family has worked on that a lot. So we actually just had a friend down for a week, and we eat out when he's here. We'll take him to all the cool places in town to go eat. And let me tell you, by the time that week was over, we were all excited just to get back to a routine of eating at home. So it's nice to have the break from the dishes, right? Because that's the worst part about cooking all the time. But it is nice. Once you get used to prioritizing eating at home, it is really, it's hard on the wallet to go out. It's hard on the way of life that you have made for yourself, for sure. All right, number 10 is make sure you eat what you buy, okay? If not, you're just going to create a bunch of waste that's going to go in the trash. If you cook it, eat it. If you don't eat it right then, freeze it in smaller sections that you can pull out for lunches. Pack it for, your lunches for the week. Save it for leftovers a couple of nights later. But the main thing is, don't buy a bunch of stuff that you're not going to cook or that you're not going to use, because it's not saving you any money and it's not working for you if you are buying a bunch of stuff that your family's not going to eat. Okay, if your family doesn't eat rice, it is not worth it to invest in a food grade bucket and a 25-pound bag of rice in order to have stock of rice. Okay, if your family doesn't eat tuna fish, don't stock up on tuna fish when it's on sale. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. You know what your family likes to eat, buy those items. Don't go crazy on things that they won't eat, because then it's just going to sit there and it's going to eventually go bad and you're going to throw it in the trash. You're going to get tired of looking at it. You're going to throw it in the trash. Now, what I want to say on this one is, if you find that you have bought things that now your family will not eat, okay, because it does happen that food tastes change, or we bought something to try, we didn't end up liking it, or I always love to give the example of my kids, because we love goldfish and mom stocks up on goldfish. Yeah, we don't want goldfish anymore. Great, now I've got a bunch of goldfish starting to get eaten. what I do is if it's, you know, like snack related sealed things that can go to school or my kids' sports organizations, I will donate it and then they have it to use for snacks. If it's anything else, we have a little pantry. Lots of towns have these now, where you can donate groceries, and then people in need in your area can visit that 24/7 and they can take food out of it. So you also have like your local food bank. There are lots of places that you can take things. You can put it on a free, like a buy sell trade page on Facebook that's actually for free items, and people will come get food. And so I would encourage you to kind of do a pantry inventory as you start your journey to trying to save money. And it feels weird to say give stuff away to start, but if it is stuff that's sitting there and your family's not going to use it, it's not doing you any good. It's just food waste, and it's just taking up space, and it's cluttering your area that you have to store food, and it's cluttering your mind because you're looking at it and you know you're not going to use it. So declutter your mind, declutter your space, donate it, and you'll feel better about that purchase. Okay, so that's what I like to do. I love to anytime something like that comes up, I'll donate it, and then I don't feel as bad about having it in my life. It was good to have it there in case we used it. If we didn't, then it's great that it gets to go to someone who will use it. All right, so that is it for today. That's video number 1. So make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, and then you will get notified as each of the 5 videos in this series appear on my YouTube channel. Okay, so again, that was just part 1. Okay, so we got 40 more tips to go. We got 4 more videos to go. So I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.